Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Today's chapters are Numbers 12 and Matthew 17. Miriam and Aaron began to talk against Moses because of his Cushite wife. Verse 1 of Numbers 12 says, "For he had married a Cushite." So who is this Cushite that he had married? Well, we read in Exodus that his wife's name was Zipporah and she was a Midianite. But it can't be the same person really, because there's no link between Midian and Cush, the land of Cush, in the Bible or in history. Now, this land of Cush was south of Ethiopia. In fact, in texts like in Jeremiah chapter 13, the word Cush and Ethiopia is used interchangeably. And in that chapter 13 of Jeremiah, they are called people with black skin. And so quite clearly, Moses has married another woman. Perhaps Zipporah had died, or perhaps he took a second wife. But whatever the reason was, his siblings were basically saying, she's not good enough for you. You shouldn't have married her. It's not right. We'll see what God has to say about that in a moment. Well, behind me is a bit of a family art gallery here. This is a picture of my wife and I when we got married. You can hardly believe it, can you? This dude with a thick mop of hair was actually me 30-something years ago. Well, 29 years after we got married, our daughter married this fella, Stef Landman. Landman, an Afrikaner. So we have had an intercultural marriage, not an interracial one. Hang of a nice guy, but does make Christmas time interesting around the table where his extended family comes and there are two languages spoken. I suppose when my grandchildren come around, they will speak two languages far more fluently than I do. But what did Moses respond? How did Moses respond? Well, verse 3 says, "Now Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth." He's got a lot of bad press because we know Moses wrote Numbers, didn't we? So how can a very humble man say, I'm the most humble in the whole world? Well, the obvious answer to that is that God inspired Moses. Can you imagine Moses writing and God saying, now write, Moses is the most humble man in the world? No, God, I can't write that. Moses, this is my word, you write that. And it's evidenced in the way he handles this conflict. He doesn't go out there and defend his interracial marriage. No, he doesn't. He lets God do it. And how does God defend him? Because remember, God opposes the proud. He gives grace to the humble. So how does God come to Moses' rescue? Well, as the cloud lifts above the tent, this is what happens in verse 10. Miriam's skin was leprous. It became as white as snow. Aaron turned toward her and saw that she had a defiling skin disease. God was saying to this racist, God was saying to this opposition to the racial marriage, you racist, you who think that your skin color is more preferable than another, I'm going to defile it. So it's that white skin of hers became white as snow, but defiled. Now, after 7 days, God lifted and said, now you've learned your lesson. God is not into racism, and we cannot profile people that way. So Matthew 17 is a total different scenario. Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up a mountain, and he's transfigured before them. His face shines, his clothes shine, and Moses and Elijah pitch up. So Peter, James, and John are witness to this incredible scene, Jesus talking to these two legends of the Old Testament. Peter gets the total wrong end of the stick, and he says, can we make some shelters? One for Moses, one for Elijah, one for you. It's like God has to speak to them, and God comes out of the cloud and says, hey, listen, this is my son, whom I love and whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Peter was enamored with the wrong people. He was enamored with Elijah and Moses, not Jesus. And as Peter here and James and John hear this voice, they fall to the ground as though dead. Jesus touched them. Don't be afraid. You see, Jesus wants us to be able to approach God with boldness. And when we're with Jesus, we can. And that's the point of that. But you might be wondering, why does God give them this glimpse of glory? Well, they were about to go through a very rough time, and they were about to go through the fire, as it were, as Jesus was going to be crucified. And that's what God wants. He wants us to get a glimpse of His glory as we go through fire. I had a family member phone me this morning and said, I'm going to draw aside and spend the day with the Lord because I'm going through a rough time at the moment. You know how that pleased my heart? We need glimpses of glory as we approach difficult situations. Well, these guys came down the mountain, and the 9 disciples at the bottom, they had problem casting out a demon from someone. So Jesus said to them, it's faith that you need to cast out demons. He delivers that one. And then we see Jesus paying his temple tax. I trust these chapters minister to you today as they have ministered to me. God bless you. See you tomorrow.